Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring NucLeaR in our bottom left corner, playing our orange Zerg, and in the top right we have Gratraf, which is I think a gratuitous giraffe is what I'm going to go with. Gratraf is our teal Protoss. Top right, we're on Antigua shipyard unless I am very much mistaken. MLG version, I think, with the supply depots on the bottom and no high yields in the middle. It looks like they know each other, orange versus teal. Not really on the ladder, though. I know NucLeaR is in Diamond League. Gratraf's probably at least close to that. And if you were paying attention at the very beginning, NucLeaR said Z, which probably means he was letting Gratraf know which race he was on as far as random was concerned. So I guess NucLeaR's playing random, and it's just practicing against Gratraf. It looks like Gratraf's going for that Forge Fast Expand that we come to expect whenever we're versing a Zerg. Forge Fast Expand, pretty powerful, especially on Antigua, where the ramp leading down to the common ground is pretty small. You also have to worry about this kind of chasm in the middle of the common ground, which really cuts up the death ball from the Protoss, making it so it's difficult to get a full-on surround with a lot of Zerglings, making that ground-based Zerg play a little less potent. 15 pool going down for NucLeaR, a very reasonable reaction to the Forge Fast Expand coming up for him. Not that it's been scouted yet. The Overlord is very slow and ponderously moving over to the third. From, that's one of the cool things about Antigua is that Gratraf is, he's got his natural down right behind the little ramp leading off into the middle ground, the upper expo, I guess. So many different levels on this map. You've got the very low middle ground, you've got a little hop jump up into the high ground for the main. But most notable, you have the third, which is also on kind of a high ground, and a very close third by air to one of the multiple spawn points. We are fortunate we have a cross spawn matchup going up between NucLeaR and Gratraf, but if this had ended differently, if NucLeaR and Gratraf had spawned in different locations, it can really dramatically change the typical build orders that you see outside of either player. Both players are going for quick expos, though. I think the Nexus was actually dropped before the Forge. The Forge just now finishing. The Gateway underway. It looks like the probe is being chased down by two different Zerglings. Actually, the probe is set to chase behind this drone. It looks like the drone's going to hide behind the mineral line. So the probe's not going to see that drone, just to double check that the third has not gone down. Once the probe does fall, NucLeaR playing very, very cleverly, actually, taking that hatchery once the probe dies. So Gratraf doesn't really know if this is going to be a two-based all-in to burst down this wall and punish Gratraf for taking that Nexus, or if it's going to be a more macro style. However, because we are omnipotent, we know that Zerg's playing this kind of heavy on the economy. Speaking of economy, 17 to 18, we see all these probes being transferred down into the common ground, the natural expand. So that economy is going to actually be kicking up into high gear for both players. Both players are going to be heavily producing drones. No gas being grabbed for the Zerg just yet. Actually, no gas out of... Oh, nice play by NucLeaR, holding his drone on hold position in the smoke, making it so that even if the probe moved off into the smoke right here in between these two geysers, that drone can hide there very successfully. And that delayed scout from the drone means that he's not suiciding an Overlord in, exposing it to anything that might be coming out of the Cybernetics core, which is just now finishing. But it also allows him to scout out the two gas being built, and hopefully if he moves his drone down into the Fast Expo, he'll be able to scout that there's no gas there, which means probably some aggression coming out of Gratraf. It could also mean that he just needs more minerals to get up the infrastructure he needs in order to work on that tech, in order to use the gas correctly. Speaking of gas, no upgrades currently being built. All that gas is being collected from those two geysers that are just now being tapped, so pay close attention to what upgrades, if any, get started. It looks like a warp gate being started. No gas at all out of NucLeaR just yet. Still no saturation down at the third, with the exception of a single drone. So we can expect another round of drones, and it looks like, yes, there goes the two extractors off at the main. Good timing there. Man, excellent control for this drone. He is surviving for a very, very long time, being chased down by that probe. slowly regenerating his health, sees that 2 gateways are being built. It looks like a robo is being built just out of visual range of that drone. Hopefully he doubles back and actually sees what's being created. It's interesting to, you don't see any range units being produced, just the single stalker, and it will take care of that drone. Actually, it looks like he goes down from a combined fire from all the probes, trying to prevent it from actually scouting that robotics facility. But it looks like a suicidal overlord is being sent in from NucLeaR to scout what structures, if any, are being made in conjunction to the 2 gateways that he knew about. And it looks like he'll see that robo, he'll see the 2 extra gateways, knows that it's going to be some heavy aggression coming out of Gratraf in short order. It's not going to be some sort of airbase play. He doesn't see any Twilight Council for DTs or higher tech from the High Templars. The robotics facility is probably going to be cranking out some Immortals in short order to combat any roaches. But that doesn't really scare NucLeaR. He's got quite a lot of economy. He's got 4 geysers being tapped. And he'll be able to deal with any army that's coming off of a 2-base Protoss in short order. He just needs to be aware of the fact that this aggression will be happening shortly, and that now is not the time to be mainlining a ridiculous amount of drones, but rather working on a substantial army. It looks like he's sending his Zerglings in several different areas to scout out the possibility of a proxy pylon and any sneak warp-ins, because warp tech is done. And while adding on a couple more gateways, we're up to 7 gates now. That first Immortal is on the way. The level 1 is probably what Gratraf is waiting before he pushes out. Will he be taking a 3rd, or will he be pushing for NucLeAR's 3rd? It really depends. Protoss is very comfortable on just 2 base, and they don't want to allow Zerg to take 3 base, but Antigua is so large, it's very difficult to push out and actually deny that 3rd without going all in and risking losing your entire force. So sometimes it's more convenient just to push out, take that 3rd, which is, it's pretty well protected. You just have to worry about the destructible debris opening up that secondary pathway. NucLeAR is double checking to see if that expansion has been taken. Little does he know it's going to be taken in just a couple of seconds, as Gratraf's moving out with his ragtag army. Has to be careful though. There is a sizable amount of roaches already out on the field, but they're on the other side of the map. Another thing to be careful for is that Zerg has been allowed to run rampant for a little while. He's got that infestor pit finishing up. He's got a macro hedge finishing up. He's got quite a lot of researches being made right now. Pathogen glands, metabolic boost, level 1 range, and armor. All of those things will be hitting in a couple of minutes. So yes, this 3rd's going to go up with minimal resistance from NucLeAR, but all that upgrade is going to be made, and is going to be keying into this coming battle. Armor's definitely going to finish. If he waits around for metabolic boosts, those speedlings will help in the coming aggression. What does Gratraf have that can deal with that? Well, he's got a lot of sentries, got a lot of force field energy, and he'll be able to cut up that Zerg army. Roaches are pretty useful against those force fields with their range, but not as useful as something like Hydras or even some infestors. Pathogen glands past that mark where Zerg can start mainlining them out, and that they'll take advantage of that upgrade. And he's definitely got all the energy that he needs. I mean gas. He's got 600 gas. He can make quite a lot of infestors. But he doesn't really want to allow this 3rd to go up. The Overlord does scout the 3rd. He knows that it's there, and he knows that he needs to stop it. He can't allow this expansion go up. A well-placed zealot from Gratraf notices that the destructible debris are going down from a hail of acid and Zerglings, and Gratraf positions his army behind the rocks. Some fantastic pushing there from NucLeAR, just opening up the door and then kind of backing off. Wow, a nice split. The Zerglings going off to the right side, the Roaches swinging in from the south, hitting the very weak stalkers. Quite a lot of force fields though. A lot of force fields, just a fantastic amount really. And half of these force fields could have been used to hold the Zerglings in place and allow that entire half of the army to go down, really making it so that Gratraf came out even further ahead in the resources lost tab. Not that he didn't come out ahead as things are now, but those force fields had to be expended in saving the sentries, protecting them from the roaches that came in from the south side. It was a really nice play by NucLeAR. It's a pity that it didn't work out. He didn't win. He didn't take down that 3rd, but it wasn't a complete wash. Yes, the resources lost tab will show you that Zerg definitely didn't come out the winner in that engagement, but he did cost Protoss quite a lot of energy. Energy count for those sentries is significantly depleted, but not altogether gone. Now that NucLeaR has out some energy units of his own, I mean, those infestors are going to be very, very handy, especially if they can land some fungals on the mass of sentries, kind of eat down their very weak and delicate shields and expose their hull to some damage from the Zerglings. I think that NucLeaR will have a more favorable engagement. Another neat thing that he's doing is grabbing the expansion both at the 4 and the 3rd for the top left expo, I guess. It's a good play there. You know, can't really stop the 3rd from going up for Protoss, so you might as well grab your 4th and 5th just to stay ahead of economy. 77 harvesters to 64. That magic number is somewhere between 70 and 90, just depending on how you play Zerg, how passive you want to be. And as we're approaching max, I think NucLeaR will be just working straight up on tech, working on gas, which is really the only reason he's grabbing this expansion at the 4 o'clock, is to get that gas and maybe some larva. Infrastructure for Gratraf is looking top drawer. I mean, he's got some gateways that haven't been turned into warp gates just yet. But the only thing he's really missing is a extra robotics bay and a robotics facility to get out some colossi. Just to complete that death ball mechanic. Quite a lot of zealots swinging out from Gratraf. These are very inexpensive, all things considered. He's got quite a lot of minerals to spare, and he'll be checking in the top left corner. Actually, looks like he's going straight for the expansion in the bottom left. At the same time, the main force from Gratraf is pushing off, hopefully to take the Xel'Naga watchtower, which is currently held by NucLeaR. The infestors have to be very careful. They're very close to the very front of this force. Several infestors go down, forcing the rest to burrow. Unfortunately, that delays the infested fungal growths, as well as some infested terra. The roaches are all that remains from the Zerglings, and a quick blink from the stalkers trying to focus down several of the infestors. Unfortunately, the roaches were already in position to deny those. All that remains really from the main force are the immortals, but you know, the 5 immortals, that's more than enough to deal with anything that NucLeaR can create. The expansion in the top left corner has gone down, but supporting roaches have cleaned up all the immortals in that area. Looks like this hatchery is in a lot of trouble. A fresh string of Zerglings really trying to get in there and deal some damage to those immortals. 2 of them actually glitching on top of each other right there, being protected by a plethora of force fields, really just improving the longevity of those immortals. They last for a very long time whenever you can't hit them because of those force fields. But it looks like all the energy is gone from the sentries, so that's it for the force fields. The next round of Zerglings, though, only 22 of them. Quite a lot of money. Look at all that money from NucLeaR. He's got over 3k minerals and 1600 for the gas, but he's just making Zerglings. I mean, get some roaches out. He's got plenty of larvae. I mean, you could get some roaches out to start dealing with this. Roach is not the most cost-effective unit against immortals, but they're going to be more helpful than Zerglings, especially with so many sentries out on the field. Actually, there's only 2 sentries left in that force. It looks like NucLeaR's just biding time, hoping that he can protect the expansion. His 3rd, a huge swell of Zerglings. This should be enough to at least half Grateful's death ball right now. The immortals protected in the center. A lot of the stalkers are dying very, very quickly. What type of upgrades are we dealing with? 2-2 over... come back. No. 2-1. So a little bit of an upgrade advantage for Protoss. However, that stream of Zerglings has made it so Grateful decides not to hit the 3rd. Instead, he's pushing into where the hive is laying exposed. With all to bear. At the same time, Ultralisks are popping out just now. Ultralisk Cavern right next to that hive. The Ultralisk should be enough to clean this up. Out of the 5 immortals, only 1 remains with 26 kills. Ridiculous. Another fresh stream of stalkers, but with the Ultralisk in the area supported by the Zerglings, they should be able to clean that up. A really nice play from NucLeaR that I'm going to point out now that we have a bit of a lull in the action. I'm paying attention to this single stalker who's scouting around, sees that hatchery, goes to town on that hatchery. But this hive here, down at the expo, look at all the supporting structures that are made there. The macro hatch, which sometimes you see up in the main base, the infested... the infestor pit, as well as the Ultralisk Cavern, all down by that expo. And then you can see that the spire's being built, and the roach warren and the Evo chamber and the spawning pool all up by the main. That tells me that the amount of damage that NucLeaR is going to receive from a specific attack, a single attack, is going to be limited. Those unit-producing structures, those spawning pools, the spire, the very weak structures for Zerg that take a very long time to build, so they're very important to keep up. By spreading them around into multiple different bases, you make yourself more resilient to drops, but less resilient to straight-on combat like what Graceful is pushing. It's something to keep in mind, especially against Terran that's favoring the Bio Ball. With those medevacs, you can drop 6 medevacs or 6 Marines in a medevac, and you can take down a Spire with 1 stim, no problem at all. And that can absolutely cripple a Zerg, especially when the Zerg's trying to go air, trying to get up those Broodlords. That's the sort of things that you need to think about, but you can't afford to think about during the heat of battle. You need to keep on yourself to make sure that you're placing your units and you're placing your structures while thinking ahead, and that's the sort of thing that can basically cost you a game if that Greater Spire goes down, if that Ultralisk Cavern were to go down. Making the hive down on the low ground can seem kind of foolhardy, but that's not the first place you're going to look if you're going to do a drop that's designed to cripple tech. Other cool tech that's being made, you got 2 robotics facilities being built, and the robotics facility or robotics bay is working on the extended thermal lance. We have 3 colossi at a time being made, so this death ball is going to be incredibly intimidating in a couple minutes. Right now, not so much. The Zerg is pretty much maxed. I would expect that NucLeaR would want to push out right now and actually do some damage, but he kind of wants to focus on his economy. He needs to get that bank up where it needs to be. Right now he's basically running on fumes. He's got a lot of bases, a lot of places that his drones can start to harvest, but wow, he's going down on a lot of his harvester count because he's making so many structures. Look at that, 3 spines, a spore, hatchery, and 2 extractors. All that costs drones, and he's not really making those drones anymore because his economy is in full swing. Just the pure number of drones is just a little bit less than you'd expect at this time frame. But as you approach max, you want to kind of switch away from having so many drones. You want to get rid of just a couple extra ones. I wonder what these infestors were doing. Maybe poking at the front door. Don't want to expose yourself too much. I mean, quite a lot of Immortals out on the field already. And these Zealots, do they have charge yet? No, they don't. But the Blink has been researched for the Stalkers. So it's going to be a very mobile force from Protoss, supported by some immobile Colossi against an absolutely just intimidating swarm coming out of Zerg. You got the +2, +3 more than on the way, more than a quarter of the way done, and the 5 armor for those Ultralisks. They're going to be incredibly resilient. Corruptors are out, not in the number that you'd expect to be able to deal with 5 Colossi right now, just 6 Corruptors. But they should be able to 2-shot those Colossi. What is the number? Is it 7? I think it's 7. Moving in a couple of Zerglings, not so much to scout, but rather just to die so that he can free up some supply, probably for some Broodlords. Yes, 5 Broodlords going right now. The Greater Spire is done. Unfortunately, it appears to have spurred Grateful into moving out. Maybe he actually is smart enough to just see that the sacrificial Zerglings means that Broodlords are out on the field, or rather he's just got so much money he wants to get out some more Ultralisks. In a twisted turn of event, it looks like Gratful's the one with a magnificent bank, as well as a maxed army. He's going to be able to quickly re-macro and get out quite a lot of units. The hatchery falls almost instantly. A fantastically just incredible number of Colossi right here, raining down fire. 5 Broodlords are up in the air. Quick blink, 2-shotting the Broodlords from all those Stalkers. Some nice fungal growths, though, will hold those Stalkers in place so that the Ultralisks can rain down fire. Ultralisks don't take a lot of damage from those Colossi. The 6 Corruptors slowly working their way down. It looks like it's more than just 2 volleys to take down those Colossi. It looks like it's 3. But they are successfully taking them down. It looks like all anti-air has fallen from Gratful. Only Immortals and Colossi left with a single Zealot in the area. The Corruptors are going to have no problem taking down the Colossi, but it looks like the Immortals have succeeded in taking down the Hive. Will they work their way through the rest of this tech? Have to be careful with that Infestor pit. Infestors are incredibly cost effective, and you look at NucLeaR, he's got absolutely no money to get out any Zerglings, any roaches of any kind. Quite a lot of gas left over, though, so as soon as that economy gets back up into full swing, as soon as he gets that mineral income back under control, he'll be able to quickly re-macro into a more air-based infestor sort of play. Unfortunately, that infestor pit does go down, so hopefully he can keep that Greater Spire up. Ultralisk's probably not the pathway that he wants to keep on. You know, Ultralisks aren't the most cost-effective unit in the world whenever you're running low on minerals. Quick blink, though, these stalkers are going to make their way up into the high ground. Oh, they're going to target down the Greater Spire. The Greater Spire is almost done with this level 1 attack. A quick blink, the Zerglings are going to town on the stalkers, but it doesn't look like they're going to be fast enough, not being able to get the surround on all those units. Finally getting the surround, those 4 stalkers will go down. 2 Broodlords in the area will target down the stalkers, but unfortunately they weren't there in time to stop that Greater Spire. Very unfortunate. 3 Colossi not supported by any structures at all. We'll be moving down to the bottom right corner. It looks like 1 Colossi is very ballsily moving up to the top left to deal with that mining base. 48-51 harvesters to 62. Income is pretty much even, because you only have 1 base against 1 base. It looks like that 3rd did indeed go down. I wonder what happened there. And the Colossi are going to town on that base in the bottom right corner. So it's basically 1 base versus 1 base as far as income is concerned. Yeah, there's quite a lot of gas, and you've got quite a lot of stalkers moving out. The Colossi have been cleaned up. Those 3 Colossi definitely not paying for themselves, not even succeeding in taking down the hatchery. Could have been better spent with all of these sentries. All that gas being sent on those sentries. My goodness. It's going to be a lot of force fields. But their anti-air capability is going to be useful if NucLeaR ever succeeds in getting up the Greater Spire again. Oh, and those 2 Broodlords are definitely exposed. The quick blink from Grateful is going to position his stalkers underneath, preventing their retreat. Unfortunately, it's going to expose them from a hail of Zerglings falling on those sentries. They're going to go down very, very quickly, especially when added insult to injury from the infestors dropping that fungal growth, holding the stalkers in place so they can't blink away. 3 Immortals have made their way to the top left corner. Finding the hatchery there, will be targeting it down. It falls very, very quickly. Those Immortals do so much damage. One of them very weak already, and they'll be chased down by some Immortals in the area. And by Immortals, I mean Ultralisks. Ultralisks are pretty good against Immortals, though they take a lot of damage. Man, they take a lot of damage. What is it, 55 damage? Though I guess we're at +3 right now, so it's even more than that. 47 from the Ultralisks, and I don't think there are any Immortals on the field. As he clicks 3 Immortals. 65. Man, Immortals are good. They're very, very good at what they do, and what they do is kill armored things. Grateful, though, only has 1 base, and that 1 base is mining off of a single mineral field. He's completely mined out. He's very exposed. On the other hand, only 1 base for NucLeaR. He's got another hatchery built, and he's going to be saturating it right now. His infrastructure is in very good shape. Both infrastructures are in very good shape. Some very quick force fields from Gratraf. Trying to protect. Oh my goodness, what a fungal growth. Wow, what a fungal growth. Holding all those guys in play, and he got another one right behind it. Gratraf's supply cut in half with a single fungal growth. That's probably a record for me, I'm not going to lie. A little bit of a pokes here and there, but with Gratraf having 0 money, he's going to have to go all in, but unfortunately he's contained by an army that's more than capable of dealing with the all-in from Gratraf. He's going to have to tap out any second now. Really a turn of events. I mean, Gratraf knew that he was running out of minerals, running out of time. I really think that if he had pulled back, if he had kept those Colossi, those 3 Colossi alive, then he would be in much better shape now. If he had 3 Colossi against this army, he wouldn't be in as much trouble as he is right now. That Immortal getting surrounded by the Zerglings going down, and now all of a sudden he's got a very small ragtag group trying to hold the line right here. This looks like the final battle, though. The probe's getting surrounded. A handful of stalkers going down, and I think that NucLeaR can just afford to 1A through this wall, even though he'll take quite a lot of damage. I mean, he's mining off of 2 bases. We'll soon have enough money to take a 3rd and get that saturated. He's still got all of his infrastructure up, so he doesn't need to spend anything on anything except for units. And right now, he could just make a bunch of Zerglings, and he could still insta-win. Poor Gratraf, slowly losing the supply, 134 to 25. He did a fantastic job. I mean, hats off to Gratraf. I am very thankful that I got to see what he was doing. I mean, it was a nice play, especially adding on all of those robotics facility. I really like the multiple harass, even though I don't really agree with using Colossi for harassment. The Immortals were incredibly effective against the hatchery right here. That blew my mind. as well as pushing into the main and taking out all those tech structures. I know I was lauding the fact that he had so many tech structures there. That kind of bit him in the ass, but it still goes to show that if all the tech structures if there were no tech structures here, he just would have pushed up into the main, and then you wouldn't have any tech structures because that unit composition there would have wrecked anything and everything that they could lay their hands on. Conversely, NucLeaR was playing Zerg the way it was designed to be played, taking in expansion after expansion, especially whenever Protoss blinks and decides to get passive. If Protoss decides to get passive and you can't break down their wall, the only thing you can do is take an expansion. And NucLeaR was definitely doing that. It was fantastic. If you guys have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Ibigandscary. Bye.